We don't show prep. So, so he had no idea.
I just barely make it in.
I'm sure you can tell, but we don't show.
I mean, let's put the cards down on the table here.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy, ha ha. It's a 6-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the 6-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6-ring Kane show. The 6 Rings Kane show. You know.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the 6 Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Welcome back, everybody. As we bring you just a little more pain, baby. Just a little more pain for all. You know when you're old, when you can kind of get on with the rest of your day after a heartbreaker like that on Saturday, but just keep moving on. But the good news is that I know we spoke about this a little bit on Sunday, and we got a couple of things that actually have been hearing about from some fans and some people on social media and obviously ESPN and all that good stuff. But we still control our destiny. We're still in the driver's seat for the ACC championship game. Right now, it's us and SMU. So bottom line is, we just got to keep winning. We just got to just win the last 2 games. Figure some things out a little bit on defense, get some things going, and just win some football games. Now, I want to ask you guys a question here before we even get to that, maybe we should pull up our sponsor here, You Break Will Fix. Let me pull them up here as well and kind of give you a little bit of information on one of our great sponsors, You Break.
Yeah, you can do You Break Will Fix, and we'll do Gidry Break We Fix. So we'll.
I hope we can fix what Gidry breaks. Anyways, have you ever run over a pothole so hard your steering wheel shakes, constantly losing air in your tires that you need to keep adding air? Chances are there's an issue with your wheels, and You Break Wheel Fix is your solution. You Break Will Fix is Miami's premier wheel repair and restoration company with over 20 years of experience and located in North Miami. You Break Will Fix offers quick repairs for damaged wheels to keep you on the road. For damaged wheels, and in most cases can offer free loaner wheels to keep you on the road while repairing your damaged wheels. So if your wheels are looking weathered and it's time to freshen up, your car, don't replace, refinish. Their in-house wheel refinishing solutions such as powder coating, machining, and polishing will give your car the light new look it deserves. Contact Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or on all social media outlets at You Break Wheel Fix. It's the letter U, Break Wheel Fix. Mention 5 reasons and get 5.5% off your next repair. You Break Wheel Fix powder coating and wheel repair, located at 1848 Northeast 143rd Street in North Miami. That's 305-748-0112. So as I have a million things going on here, and I'm watching the Dolphins game, and I'm probably going to get sidetracked.
Well, that's your fault for watching the Dolphins game, but
Says the Dallas Cowboys fan.
You think I watched that Eagles game yesterday? Absolutely did not.
No, oh man, I like to torture myself a little bit. What can I say? So in hearing a little bit back of the doom and gloom that a lot of Dolphins fans, well, Dolphin fans too, a lot of Kings fans are kind of talking about now about how we need to fire Shannon Dawson and we need to fire this one and we need to promote this one and we need to, Jason Taylor and Derek Nichols.
Hire Warren Sapp is one that's entering the chat.
There's another one. That a boy.
Yes, sure.
All right. Hire Warren Sapp to be our line coach for next year. We need some vicious mentality. We don't have vicious mentality from our Hall of Fame edge rushing defensive line coach right now. Come on, guys.
Have you seen the defense lately? He may have it, but our defense certainly does not right now. I mean, let's be honest.
I get. No, look, the defense. I think if you look back at the Georgia Tech game, and you look at that game as a whole, like what changed. Blue talked about this on yesterday's instant reaction show. The defense did what they've been doing. The offense did not perform as they had been, so the team lost. So that's the problem. It's like this is the defense at this point. But I guess from my point is you don't do an after action report before the action's over. We're not firing a coach in the middle of the season.
No.
We are 9-1.
Yeah.
As Chaz led the show off with control. All you beat Wake Forest and Syracuse.
That's it.
And then go to the ACC championship and beat probably SMU. If you can't do that, then we can start talking. That's the task at hand. It's not, look, whatever you want to say about we're going to probably spend a good deal of the show talking about defensive deficiencies and things we can do better and all of that. But no one's making a coaching change in week 10 of the season. So we got the whole offseason, months of dead time to talk about all that. Right now, we have one of the best teams in the country with a pretty straightforward path to being a top 4 seed in the playoffs. Probably where the focus should be, not on playing fantasy coach hiring.
But we will indulge in some terrible news for Florida State as they fired their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, Alex Atkins, and God, I can't even remember their defensive coordinator's name. So go figure. But they fired both of those guys after going 1-9 and getting crushed by Notre Dame this weekend. So
yeah, and the further terrible news is they did not fire Mike Norvell. So unfortunately, they're still stuck with him.
They're scapegoat firings. I told Blue that the other day because Alex Atkins is a hell of a coach. So I know that obviously, look, Mike Norvell calls plays there. I think, if I'm not mistaken,
it's the typical that puts Mike Norvell on 1 year notice to get fired next year.
Right. And good news for Florida Gator fans. You guys get to keep G5 Billy Napier there for at least 1 more year too, man.
And he leaned into that and proved his worth this weekend with that great performance they put on the field in Austin. So
yeah, he did. I mean, look, listen, we don't have a lot to talk about today. We already went off, so we might as well rag on.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily agree that we don't have a lot to talk about. I mean, with the passage of time, you get a little bit less emotional. I see already the chat has not turned into a shouting match with everyone yelling at each other, so that's nice. And so, with a little bit of comment.
We don't see that yet. You see it already? No.
I said we don't see it which we saw yesterday. So, maybe people calm down a little bit. No, a little bit of refocus. Got a bye week here. Get this thing, corrected as much as we can. The other thing, I guess, that happens with the show yesterday is, the rankings did come out.
Yes.
Canes are ranked 12th, which
Are you surprised by that, guys? Are you surprised by the 12 ranking? I'm not. Blue, are you surprised by that number 12 ranking? I thought maybe 11, 10 or 11. I can see, look, Georgia's already lost a couple of big games. Are they a little bit overrated? Maybe, right? They're a good program, but are they a little overrated? Maybe. What do you think about that number 12 ranking, Blue?
The pollsters were just waiting for Miami to lose. All they did was talk about how they're a soft number 4. They're not that good. Their defense is like sophomoric, and we're just waiting for them to lose and put them where they belong. But yet Georgia could lose 11 times and they'll be still in the top 10. So, enough about that. Georgia lost, and I'm not surprised. I thought it'd be lower. I just the way that people had talked. And, everybody was waiting for Miami to shoot, just like Indiana. If Indiana lost tomorrow, they go down to 15. So, it's just that they can't take the fact that you don't need to win by 30 or win, just anymore, because it's not going to happen. You're just not going to happen. You look at the Utah BYU game. In fact, it cost the Utah AD 40 grand for out and saying that he says, I couldn't wait to get into the Big 12, and now I'm second guessing it. The refereeing was horrible. You took the game away from us. And, I mean, if you feel that way, that's fine, but I wouldn't say it. But you know what? It's just that you look at every team. I saw Oregon. Oregon in the opener against Boise State, and they should have lost. So, there's not one team where you could say, actually, Alabama's probably playing the best right now after, they had the losses. But there's not one team you could just say, hey, that's the best team in the country. It just can't. It just, because I don't think Oregon's that, I mean, but, who's to say? It's on any given day. Any team could play real well, and but the only thing won't change. And then I took crap for this morning on a podcast on Rivals, just talking about Miami's defense, and I mean, because I go, well, will the week off give them, an opportunity to work on things? Work on what? I actually work on getting some younger players in there is what they need to do. Yep. I mean, you look at some of the kids that because remember, all these guys, these, dare say it, the overpriced guys that they brought in on defense are going to be gone. So then we have an opportunity to use a lot of the kids that we recruited, and the Scotts and players like you were talking about yesterday, Jazz, that need to be in that mix. Zaquan Patterson, certainly Williams needs to be in there. I mean, you can't just sit there and, the linebacking play we said is atrocious. So, try somebody else. I know Popo's been hurt, but get somebody else in there. Get some fresh faces in there. Get somebody who's ready to, to take that, take control. That's the only thing you could do on this week is just kind of experiment around, because it's, I was told a long time ago, you could shape Play-Doh in every different form and direction, but when you're all done with it and putting it back in the box, it's still Play-Doh. So it's, It's the thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But let me tell you, just to kind of piggyback off of that real quick before I talk about what I think about the ranking, is if you notice something, like if you look back and you look at some of the play calling from Guidry, right? We're all kind of hammering him and saying Guidry sucks and he's not making the adjustments. Believe it or not, a lot of the plays are set up perfectly. But a lot of the players are not sticking to their assignments. They're missing their gaps. Right? And so they're out of position. They're not making the right plays, and the offense is capitalizing, right? They're doing a lot of things right. But from what I noticed is that a lot of the times Guidry is putting them in the right play call.
Most of the times you're right. And that's the whole thing, Jazz. Everybody's been saying that. I mean, obviously he could do something wrong, maybe call a bad play, and someone comes up with an interception, and then you go, well, wait a minute. He's not putting the guy in the right position. But I 100% agree with you. I mean, you practice all day, all week long, and you go, hey, listen, when they line up in this formation, you got to be here. You got to be here. So they line up in that formation. They yell out, hey, it's green or whatever it is. He comes over, and if he doesn't make the play, that's on them. They put the damn, Guidry can't get out there and make tackles. He can't get out there and intercept balls. No. His job is to put the guys in the position to make the plays. And if they don't make it, that's on them, and that's what's happening.
Now,
but I'll challenge that a little bit on the
just a little bit.
Well, no, I agree with you. The players are not executing, but also, so as the defensive coordinator, just calling the same stuff over and over again and assuming you do have some responsibility there to maybe simplify things. If they can't line up correctly and they can't, like you said, there's keys that they're keying off of, every team runs late motion. We're the only one whose defense looks completely lost when they do it, right? It's not some kind of like someone invented a new offensive system that no one's seen before and we're getting But after you see Duke do that, and you don't have any kind of adjustment other than to roll it out there and try again against Georgia Tech, who did the same thing, and all of those late shifts where they're moving like guys across the formation, we're struggling to get lined up, getting out leveraged, all of that, like, yes, that should not happen. The players should read their keys much more quickly. You know, you should be moving in unison. You should be lined up easily with plenty of time. Everyone else is able to do it. No one else's defense gets completely lost because someone went in motion. But given that we're seeing this on the field week after week after week, I would expect them to adjust. We talked about calling some zone. Maybe, you know, you instead of you know, lining man up on one-on-one, just, hey, whoever the outside receiver is, you just have him. So when they motion across and someone else comes out there, it's the running back, just cover him anyway. Don't have to shift the linebacker out into the flat in coverage. Things like, there are adjustments that can be made to simplify things to try and get better execution. And I understand the hesitation to do that because, you know, you're playing less than ideal. He's obviously calling the plays he thinks will work and saying, well, I can't call that anymore because the players can't execute it. That's, you know, something he's got to look at. And maybe that's something he can do in the bye week. What are we actually good at defensively? Right? And, well, yeah, but I mean, no, but they'll have a much better idea, right? Because they're going to they can look through, and obviously we have a great video department. They'll cut this up for the play after play. They'll have detailed stats and success metrics, and also calling out the stuff Blue talked about. Hey, we got an interception on this play, but we completely screwed the coverage up and got lucky. Versus this play, we were in position, just missed a tackle, but that was a good play call. And kind of lean into more of the, okay, this is what we think we can actually do well as a defense. Because what we're doing right now is not working. And there has to be a series of coverages and plays they think they can call that they would execute at a higher level than what they're doing now. We're not asking for them to be, you know, the best defense in the country. Just like not get just embarrassed, and because you keep giving the offense the ball, they'll get the points.
And that's why I think, Blue, what you mentioned, what we all been saying is get some of the younger guys in there, and maybe they can execute. Maybe they can do some things, but we can't keep. Who are we, right? They got to do it themselves. They're not going to listen to us. So it's only a matter of time before they either make that adjustment or they don't. I mean, at this point, I don't know. Like you said, Vish, I don't know what we're good at and what's going to change or how much of it will change. But the only way you can try and see and see if something else works is by trying new people at that, you know, at that same position, at those same play calls, and see if something changes with that. So, we'll see. They've got 2 weeks to figure it out to make some changes, and
that's something. Yeah, that's something else. They can adjust what they're calling. Certainly, you know, if you're going to give up,
you said that, right? Do that.
Yeah.
For what are
if you're going to give up chunk plays anyway, there's also the alternative of, you know, let's figure out how not to give up. Like, blitzing's not a magic elixir. We saw that with Manny Diaz, right? You expose yourself,
especially in a running game. If you pick that blitz up, the guy's gone.
Yeah, but given that we're giving up these huge plays anyway, it kind of feels, you know, the defense is not going to be good. So, you're fighting it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't things. But I don't think it's acceptable if we come out of the bye week to just roll the same exact scheme out there with the same players calling the same defense. And you know, it's the Simpsons joke with like the cake, at least you tried or whatever. I would like to hand them an at least you tried cake, even if it doesn't work. Because what we're doing right now, when you literally see every week the, you know, similar schemes from the opposing offense, and they work just as effectively every week. The only thing, the mistake Duke made against us is they were scoring too quickly.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't even a sarcastic comment. Like, they were going in there and putting in the end zone so quickly, our offense kept getting the ball back and was able to get a rhythm and score. Georgia Tech just ground us down, and, you know, Cam Ward's sitting on the sideline for 20 minutes, then comes out there, throws an incompletion, and goes back to the sideline. Like, that's never had a chance to get in a rhythm there. Even though he still threw for 370 yards or whatever. That's his bad game, which is insane by itself. But
which we'll talk about.
Yeah. And so but that was the smart thing. They were like, we're going to possess this ball. We're not going to score quickly. The one time they did was their first drive, and we immediately threw a touchdown the next play. so there's, you know, they kind of took the air out, and teams are going to replicate that way. We're going to try and take the air out of the ball now. Is Wake Forest capable of doing that to the point of winning? Probably not. Is Syracuse? That's a little bit grayer, right? So got a lot of work to do to make sure that teams aren't able to do that.
But here's the thing, too. If I can interject on that, the last couple of weeks we've had the same problems, but we've talked very little about it, because we won the games. They kicked the 2 field goals and win by 1. Are we sitting here dissecting the defense? Because we could have done this the last 6 weeks easily, but we chose not to because they won by 12 and 14 and 15 and 20 and 21, whatever. That's why I'm saying the weakness has been there, Vish, all along. We just never addressed it because they were winning. And I'm saying if he goes for the 2 field goals, as he just mentioned with an NFL style kicker and makes both games and we win by 1, we're talking about it, but we're not harping on it. And that's what we're doing now because we're all thinking, well, this off week, maybe they can come up with this magic elixir and, become a better defense rather than, hey, it's going to be the same. You could gamble, as Vish said, and maybe blitz a little bit more. You may be able to change a few players in and out personnel-wise. But at the end of the day, he's still dialing up the plays, and we're still not making them. And that's my point. Because I don't think, and I said this morning as well, we're not killing the defense as much if we're 10-0. That's just my point.
No, you're right. You're right. We're still talking about it and saying, gosh, they stink or whatever. But it's a different story when you're 10-0. I will say this.
I still feel like we kind of are, because when you look at some of these, like Georgia's and top tier playoff teams, and you see this Miami defense and how quickly and how physical the Georgia running game is, and how flashy Oregon is or whatever. I still think you are killing the defense because it's very clear, especially when you see how good the offense performs, that the defense is the weak link on this team. So even if we're winning, I still think we're killing the defense because it's like you guys have said before, nothing has changed. So
what we might be saying is it's going to bite us in the ass eventually. We're going to lose, and we're going to lose at the wrong time. I think
you said that before.
DJ, how much are we talking about the Louisville game where they had 465 yards on them? We weren't. We really weren't harping on the way that Louisville was doing anything that they wanted, and it was going to be the last team with the ball. But we're doing it now because we lost.
Yep.
Well, that's part of it. It's also the method that it happened, right? Like Louisville. Louisville, we also knew they have an elite offense,
right?
Georgia Tech just not only did they their offense, just the way they took our manhood.
They dominated, yeah.
I mean, they ran for 278 yards and could have run for another 100 if they wanted. Like they literally fell on the 1 yard line to avoid scoring another touchdown. I mean, just the method of that we had no ability to adjust to them just running the ball down our throats.
Right.
That I think is almost a different kind of failure than what we've seen. We haven't really seen that. We had a top 15 or whatever rush defense before that game, and not just
throwing.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly though. So we kind of thought, if a team tried to actually just line up and run the ball down our throats, we'd be able to at least like hold up, and absolutely not was the answer. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And to Angel's point, I think by the time we realized the type of game we were in, we had wasted a half. It was a physical game where, possessions mattered because we weren't going to get that many. And we'd, gone for instead of kicking field goals. And, we came out in the second half trying to run the ball, which is exactly how you adjust to that kind of game. Unfortunately, we failed on a 4th down early in that drive. They scored again. Then it was 2 possessions, and you have to start throwing more. But I think, what Anthony is saying here about coming out lackluster. The last 2 games we actually scored early. Had 10 points really early. I think 6 or 7 minutes into the Georgia Tech game. Didn't score again the rest of the half. The Duke game, it was 14-0 early, and then again let them back in the game, kind of let up. I think the thing for the offense is, look, the defense is what it is. You got to score every time you have the ball. Bottom line. I mean, that's where we're at. Right? Whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, there needs to be points. If you're in a position to score, you got to score. And that includes Mario kicking field goals. You essentially can't have empty possessions with this defense. And so, part of that's going to have to be him adjusting to the game, understanding that's necessary to take points when you have them. And in the ironic thing is he did that repeatedly against Florida State. It went from 14-7 to 23-7 because he took 3 field goals where he could have gone for it. And it put the game away doing that. And here, for whatever reason, he was hesitant to do that. I think we had some shot plays we thought would work that just didn't.
Which, by the way,
yeah, go ahead.
Which, by the way, I'd like to kind of talk about that too, because, looking back at it, there was some there was some plays where we left a lot of yardage out there. We left potentially touchdowns out there on the field with some of the decisions that Cam Ward made with the football, or lack thereof, right? I think we're looking at his stats and we're saying, wow, he still had a killer game. But the truth is, this was probably not one of his best games. He still threw for 348 and 3 touchdowns. But there was also 2 or 3 throws or touchdowns that he left out on the field that I think he could have made better decisions as well. And look, we're going to have to live and die with that, right? A lot of people say, no, we don't have to. No, yeah, we kind of do, right? That's his MO. That's how he plays. He's going to try to extend plays, and sometimes he's going to extend them way too long. And that's what happens, right? And Blue mentioned this yesterday, right? The offensive line, they don't know where the hell he is at half the time because he's running around doing whatever the hell he's going to do. And you can't block guys if you don't know where your quarterback is or where you're supposed to be blocking. So sometimes I think that he needs to trust his checkdowns a little bit more, whether it's his players or himself. I think it's more him wanting to, again, play some of that hero ball, right? And try to push the ball down the field and find an open man. But if the open man is there and you're not finding him either, because there was a couple times when that happened, then you run the risk of either turning the ball over, getting a sack. A lot of bad things can happen when something like that happens. There's a fine line between the play breaking down and your wide receivers being able to get open because there's only so long that a cornerback can cover, and then there's, well, I'm really, really waiting for something huge to pop open. Like, take what they give you. You had 1 minute and 50 seconds left there at the end of the game. Royals open in the flat, hit it to him, things like that, right? That could have potentially gotten us a W. And that's the crazy thing, right? Like, even at the end of that game, we were still in it potentially to be able to win that football game. So I think that from here on out, just all of that to say, guys, the record doesn't matter anymore. Who cares? I mean, the ranking doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter. 12, 20, 15, 5, 1. It doesn't matter. You got to win.
You got to win. You just got to win.
Just got to win. If you win out, the record doesn't matter. You're still going to get your bye. You're still going to be a top 4 team, and the playoff is there. If you don't, you're done. Bottom line. Period.
I was wrong yesterday. It's a 12 kickoff, not 7.
Yeah, it's a 12 kickoff.
Yeah, they announced it.
Another noon kickoff.
Great.
You know what? That is the price you pay for losing to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, you said it. This loss did that.
Well, you look at the other games in those windows across that day, and they're all very similarly, one high-ranked team against an unranked team, and we're now a lower high-ranked team than we were. And if we were still in the top 5, we probably would have gotten a better time slot, but we're not. So that's the reality of, you pay a price for losing games on and off the field, and we're paying that one. Should we do some Underdog fantasy here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Make sure we get the sponsor in here.
Finish some stuff off.
That bouncing ball can only mean one thing. It's time to hoop. And with Underdog Fantasy, you can play higher or lower on all your favorite players, like Miami's own Tim Hardaway Jr. I love Underdog's Win Now feature, which lets you cash out whenever you want. So join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog. And with their Champs game, you could win money by making entries with your favorite players. Download the app today and use code 5REASONS to get up to $1,000 in bonus cast instantly. That's UnderdogFantasy.com and the offer code 5REASONS to get up to $1,000 in bonus cast. That is FIVEREASONS. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right. Couple things that I kind of wanted to ask. Blue, I want to ask Blue this because we haven't really touched on this in a while, man. But Blue, we got a lot of decommitments happening in the world of college football right now. FSU is obviously losing a bunch of guys, the Gators, but everybody is, right? Ohio State's, Alabama, so everybody's losing a bunch of guys. Now with what's happening at FSU, they've got a couple of 5-star guys that are potentially looking to make some moves. The season that Miami is having right now, regardless of whether this loss had a big effect on some of those players or not, what are you hearing out there from kids that are either committed already, looking to commit, or potentially to flip to Miami? Some of those things, you can name a couple of names that you have that are on the radar, or you can just kind of talk to us about some guys that potentially Miami looking at, or at least what they're saying, what the vibe is out there on the streets from the players that are looking at Miami.
Well, first, before I do fresh, what I was looking at is my Rams getting crushed by the Dolphins. That's what I was looking at.
I know. Well,
that's what I'm looking at. But you know what? The whole thing too is you gotta remember they're only 2 weeks removed from having probably the most highly recruited kids ever at a game when they had FSU. They still are in line for a lot of players. You look at FSU, they lost a few, but they gained 3, too. They got Byron Lewis, the running back from Heritage. They got the 2 twins, the Desir twins, to decommit from UCF and go there. So, as you mentioned, everybody's losing and gaining players. But, I just think the way Miami's played, a lot of the kids, like I said, that's why it's almost imperative now to get a lot of those younger players in. What's happened to Lyle? We haven't seen him in a while. Is he hurt? Is he, things like that where these kids are hanging on the balance, knowing next year they can come in and see some action. And that's what they're looking to get. I mean, there's a deficiency on the defensive side of the ball. So if you're a defensive player, like Stubbs and those guys like that, you're saying to them, hey, listen, I can come in next year and, at least get in there like O.J. Federic did. Or if you're a linebacker, same way. So that's what they're thinking, Jazz. I mean, I've talked to a lot of the kids. A lot of them are 100% on board. Miami certainly, like I said, if you're an offensive player, you see how they move and how things are happening and understand that Cam Ward's only a generational guy. And he's not going to, there's not going to be one like him every year. But you know what? That could be said at any school, so they're going to get somebody next year, whether it's somebody they have on board or if it's somebody that's coming in. I think Luke Nickel is more than capable of playing, but he's got to sit there and bide his time as well. So they're going to go into the portal and try to get a quarterback, just in case Emery is not the guy who I think he is the guy. I talked to everybody down there and they said that, he's got great arm strength. He understands it. He knows the playbook inside and out. So obviously you got to give him a shot. He's been around for a couple of years.
You want to hear something funny, Blue? I heard someone say, I can't wait till we see Emery just sit in the pocket and dink and dunk and make some plays that way. And I'm like, what? So you want to get rid of Cam Ward? That's too on. I mean,
no, you're not.
Make people happy, man.
We got to understand though. But you look at a lot of the teams, and okay, so you look at NC State. They get the kid from Chaminade. He's starting to work out. And then all of a sudden here's a freshman, and you could hang your hat on him for a couple of years. So Miami needs that. Either that or get another. And there's a lot of guys, that are quarterbacks now, but not a lot of them. It's not going to be like Will Howard and all those guys like last year, where you had 4 or 5 like Shador and players like that came out. And but it's just winning is going to attract You know, I mean, you could say what you want to get about Dawson, but his offense, you know, when he has the personnel to run it, they're dynamic. And I agree with this. You're not going to find a better personnel on any team offensively like the Hurricanes have. Their receivers are deep. Their tight ends are underused, but right, DJ, come on now. You know, I mean, those tight ends are, I mean, and they got Riley Williams catches the ball. And we know that, you know, just watching that first play the other day and watching Arroyo, you said to yourself, this guy's in the NFL. He's going to be in the NFL. Look at him. He's got size. He can run. So I utilize guys like that a little bit more. I don't think it's the offensive problem. You know, like you said, Georgia Tech, just, you know, they had a good scheme and Miami kind of fell in the traps. And here's the thing too, you know, I think the tendency to have played teams with lesser defenses puts this in Cam's head that he could pretty much sit back there and do circles and go all around, but you can't do that against everybody. So if you feel that it's closing in, get rid of the damn thing, throw it out of bounds, throw it down at somebody's feet, but don't keep, you know, like I said, I think that if he played better within himself, you know, the other day, and especially on that last drive, I don't think he would have fumbled. I just think he just tries to make things happen, and you can't always do that. And I watched that whole frame, Vish, and you got to give Georgia Tech credit because they locked down every receiver. I was watching during that segment, so he had nothing. So in that case, you still have how much? We had a minute 35 seconds left. You had time, so throw it away. Get rid of it. Play within yourself. Don't create things when they're not there. And I just think that in that 135, Miami could have come down and they could have scored. I mean, they could have run the ball like they did. I mean, you know, they had. He had over 300 yards, even though it didn't seem like it. But, yeah, I don't know. There's so many fingers to point when you lose. But, like, I go back to this. Miami hasn't played that well defensively in any of the 6 games, starting with Virginia Tech. So if they didn't win, we could have been sitting here every Monday night talking about, wow, the defense sucks, instead of, wow, Ward could create, and we had 440 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Restrepo did well. The glaring weakness has been there all along. We see it in a game like this. And obviously it, you know, and look at Cal, you know, look at California, who hasn't done any of that. They did it the other night to an inferior team, but they haven't done that all freaking year to anybody except for Miami.
Yeah. And I think, you know, one of the things that is relevant to Miami for this week too is, and you're kind of seeing this is depending on how the calendar shakes out, you know, our years are not like, they're not like, you know, even every year. So some years you get an extra bye week, which we have this year. Like Georgia Tech used that bye week to get their quarterback healthier and prepare for all this. And one of the things they did defensively, Blue, which is where, you know, they definitely were like, we're going to keep him in the pocket. We're going to spy him too, so he can't scramble up the middle. And so his freelancing, he was just running into guys, which was very different from, you know, in the last games, he was able to get out. He was able to run effectively. He didn't have any of that this game. No. They did a really good job of kind of boxing him in. They used that bye week effectively. And, you know, if you look at some of these other games from the weekend, you know, Virginia is not a good football team, and Pitt is having one of their best years. And Virginia had a bye week going into Pitt, and they prepared. They took away everything Pitt does well. They exploited their defense, even though their defense is a strength of their team, but they figured out how to attack it. And they went in there and they beat them.
Eli Holstein was out for.
I mean, he got injured in the third quarter. He
was there for the first half.
They were losing. They were losing when he got injured. I mean, it wasn't. That's not. They were trying to drive to come back into the game. But my point is, without that bye week, I guarantee you Virginia loses that game. Without the bye week, Georgia Tech doesn't have 2 weeks to prep. They don't get to like really break down that Duke film in the manner that they were able to and exploit those same things. And so, you know, some of that matters. So now we have a bye week, and frankly, we need to scout ourselves.
Yeah.
As much as Wake Forest, and really clean some of that stuff up, because, you know, Cam Ward's got to make adjustments too. Like he's obviously a great player. But he's also got to, hey, if they're going to keep him in the pocket, Blue's right, check it down, be a little bit more patient. and you have the the plays will come, right? And actually, often you see in these 2-minute drills, they start with checkdowns with a running back. Why the other team's backing up? They're going to not let you throw it on the field. You soften them up by throwing it underneath, and then they have to come eventually because they can't keep giving up that yardage, and then you can start. And he was just ironically impatiently patient. Like he was holding the ball too long. He was too patient in the pocket because he wants something big to open up and just get the ball out and keep it moving. And so again, he'll learn and make adjustments. As I saw that, I mean, I don't even know what to do with our fans sometimes. Like, oh yes. Can't wait for Cam Ward to be gone. I saw that too, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm turning the internet off for the day. I can't with this. The best quarterback in the country, maybe the best quarterback we've ever had. And
yeah.
They learned nothing. They learned nothing. We go 1 week from, oh my God, Dawson's going to be the Rice coach. What are we going to do? To fire Dawson. He called a play action bootleg on 4th downs today, handing it off. Get him out of here. It's just like we are so schizophrenic. And the wins and losses dictate all of it. Like if Cam would have driven the team down to win, they'd be like, this team is magic. No problems. No problems.
We wouldn't be talking about the defensive insufficiencies. And let me remind the fans how you wanted to get rid of Lashley too. So.
well, we might be seeing him in a couple of weeks with a lot of the other players we wanted to and did get rid of. So that might be a fun time.
But we did say that Brashard Smith wasn't getting enough touches last year. We go, hey, he needs to get more touches. Well, he's getting enough now.
Yeah, he's playing running back too. That was position change.
But he's the guy, Vish, that you want to put the ball in his hands as much as you can, like Ray. And Ray's been kind of a disappointment, And I said this morning, and we said this yesterday. They got to make a change on kickoff returns. Mm-hmm. Come on, get somebody else in there. I mean, Johnson's by far the fastest, but he's not a good kick returner. Runs in the backs, doesn't follow the wedges.
Ray can't play the tackle if his life depended on it. Ray-Bay's like he's in a pinball machine. It's unbelievable. Also.
But that's one of the things if you want to work on, get into your special teams a little bit and work on those in the punt returns. I just put Restrepo back there. So he's not going to fumble the ball and just put him back there like he did. He's not going to break anything for you. But on kickoffs, Jesus, you can't tell me like Bobby Washington or any Lyles even, somebody like that.
Well, it's multiple things, Blue. Not only does he just run into defenders, like half of these, it's like 3 yards deep in the end zone. Just kneel it. Get the ball at the 25. What are you doing? So, I don't think the decision-making is there at all. I don't know. I know he's back there because he's fast, but I don't see what they're looking at that is having them. Same thing we're talking about the defense, right? It's kind of been some of these things have been happening all year. Some of them were new last week. Some of them were, Georgia Tech, credit to them for causing them, but there's some pretty addressable, consistent issues that now you have 2 weeks to iron out, and I kind of expect them to do that. I expect them to use this bye week effectively to set up the rest of the season. Because you got a 3-game. I mean, if you, I obviously picked us to go undefeated. That was wrong since we lost a game. But if you were sitting here and you tell even the most pessimistic Canes fan, you got to beat Wake Forest, Syracuse, and probably SMU to be a top 4 seed in the playoffs.
You got to like your chances, man.
Yeah, come on, go do that. Stop complaining about what happened last week and go do that. 3 games. 3 games that are very winnable. You're going to be favored in all of them. Go win those games.
Right.
You don't need the complaining and the whining and the blow it up and the fire everyone stuff when we're sitting here at 9-1 with an opportunity to win 3 very winnable. We have never had.
It'll get really interesting in the ACC.
We have never had as clear of a path to not just the ACC championship, but to a playoff. I know you still only be 4 teams, but it's wide open there for us, and seize the opportunity. That's the task for the team. Seize this opportunity.
That's it. We will be back. He's back. I'm not going to make him see the games. We will be back next Monday with a preview of Wake Forest as we get into the last couple of games of the season.
Yeah, as you guys alluded to earlier, that game is at noon a week from Saturday. That is the last home game. So get out there if you haven't been out to the
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah, definitely. It's seniors.
Yes,
senior day, and there's a lot of seniors on this team, that have been, started with Manny and now is going out hopefully with the 13-14 win season.
They've seen it all, that's for sure.
Well, 15 would be even better, Blue. That's
I know. Well,
aim high, man. Aim high. You're only as good as your biggest dreams. I will advisory for anyone heading out to the stadium. Whatever time you think you need, add 45 minutes to it and show up then. That place, doesn't matter what color is on your parking pass. If you get there like an hour before kickoff, it's a circus. They'll direct you 500 different ways. Who knows if they'll even let you park in your lot. Like, get there as early as practical. But if you're trying to show up, like, especially noon games, a lot of people aren't going to tailgates too early. Like, not everyone wants to be drinking alcohol at 8 a.m. I get it. So, you try to show up. Oh, I'll show up at 11:30. If you show up to the stadium at 11:30, there's a 0% chance you'll be in your seat for the kickoff.
Trust me.
Just warning you all. It's the place becomes a zoo. The parking people don't direct you to the right lot. You show up to your colored lot, and they're like, "No, go park somewhere else." And you go there, and like, "No, why are you parking in your lot?" It is that crazy. So definitely show up. Give yourself extra time. Make sure you can get in your seat, as Blue said, even 15 minutes early, so you can see them announce the players for senior day. Yep. It sucks it's at noon because they are going to come out to an empty stadium pretty much, and but so anyone that can get in there, try to show up a little bit early so you can see them announce the seniors who have a chance to go out on a historical high. So this is their last chance to play in that stadium until the college football playoff semifinals. So let's make sure that
you gotta love Vicious optimism, man. All you guys listening, if you're a UM fan, just I'd be surprised if you're not. I mean, we hear so much crap,
All I'd say is I've been a broken record on this. It's Wake Forest, it's Syracuse, it's SMU.
Yeah, but here's the thing, too. He says, you don't think Lashley's a better OC? Well, he's a head coach now, so he's probably in that. That happens when you're good coordinators, you get advanced, and we'll see what happens. But
and that's why I'm not worried at all. Like, if someone wants to hire our coaches, that's a good thing. That means they're doing well.
It's a great thing.
So when people are like worried about that, they're worried, oh, this guy's going to go pro early. I'm like, good. If he's playing well enough that he's going to get drafted, that's a good thing for us.
As long as our head coach is there and just stay, with his philosophy, that for sure you're not going to lose your your offensive line coach. He'll always be there. As long as Mario's there, he's going to be there. Just too many good parts that the Hurricanes have. But I got a good show and tell today.
Show and tell.
Here we go.
Show and tell with Blue.
It's the last time that I was at Sullivan Stadium in Chestnut Hill. It was the year after Miami got humiliated in the last minute by Flutie. 1985, Miami wins 45-2. They finished 10-2, lost to Tennessee in the Sugar Bowl. And DJ, there you are.
Yeah, there.
Wow.
Boston College. I was at Sullivan Stadium that fateful day. Speaking about the early game, it was a 1:00 game, and on the end. And I'll show you real quick. I should have marked it. But on the defensive end, Boston College had a really good defensive line.
They did back in the 80s, yeah.
They did. Well, but one of the guys who spearheaded that defensive line,
Blue and Vish, if we play Boston College in Boston, we need to. I don't think there's any way around it, but we need to book a trip up there, and us four and DJ, we got to go to the game.
100%. Let me know
if they don't do it over Thanksgiving weekend like the last time. That ruined everything.
They do it over like the end of the year, like Thanksgiving game, and it's tough that way.
I did want to tell you that they did have Troy Stratford was their running back. But they also had a pretty good defensive end right there at the end.
Who's there?
Where are we looking at?
At this end. Right where my finger's at.
I can't even.
John Bosa.
John Bosa.
Wow.
There he is.
Yeah,
they had Mike Ruth, who played in the
Yep, I was gonna say
NFL,
Mike
they were a
Ruth.
good defensive team, but Miami just went in there and was so upset from the year before that they just took it to them. And I was at that game. It was a little bit. It was at the beginning of the season. It was in September, so it wasn't really cool, but it was real nice time. And there's a lot to do around that campus. There's a lot of good restaurants and I'm sure DJ you'll
The North End, yeah.
Yeah, the North End. I mean, beautiful little city. It's the Chestnut Hill area is very nice from what I remembered, and a lot of brick buildings and a lot of a lot of history. But Boston's one of the great cities. Probably one of the great food cities in America, especially Italian.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
good
Blue,
Italian restaurants. Yeah.
if you see, we got Ken Kitchens here trying to cover Tyreek Hill. That's a tough one. That's a tough one for him.
So what did he do? Did he cover him?
He just caught a swing pass and beat him to the corner, beat him to the edge for like 5 yards.
That's certainly not a slight on Cam. Try to cover Tyreek
No,
Hill. I
it's
can
not
imagine.
That's a tough
I don't know what happened, Chaz, but I blame Gidry. So
yeah.
and out there, it was definitely his fault.
Oh God, look at this guy. Look at this guy. What a nightmare he is.
Anyway,
There's those FSU guys. That's one of the reasons number 55 and 8 started for FSU last year, and they're starting for the Rams. So, but that's it.
All right, so it's good. Look, Ralph is back on the horse. He missed last week's show. Now, order has been restored. Everyone, confidence is high.
Jeez,
2 wins, and we'll be in Charlotte. That is the goal, and that is definitely doable. So,
well, we're glad for that.
Yeah,
all right,
we're right in there.
Follow us on Twitter at Six Strings Canes, and of course, subscribe to the 5 Reasons Canes podcast wherever it is you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Make sure you check us out every Monday night at 8:30 on the 5 Reasons Canes.
We got buckets Thursday.
Yep, 5 Reasons Sports YouTube network, but also check out buckets and everything else we got going on.
Yeah, the women's team squeaked out a 3-point win today. Not great ball, but Jacksonville.
And you said the men played when?
The men played yesterday and won easily, and the women play at Florida on Saturday. So.
Wow, that'd be a good one.
There you go. Look at Matty Ice bringing the buckets all of a sudden. Look at him. Shout out to Matty Ice there from the Buckets team.
Yeah, we'll be covering, talking about all that on Thursday in Buckets. So
thank you for everybody watching us. We'll see you guys on Monday. Adios.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. You know.